I think it's a permanent switch. I think Hispanics here are moving more and more to the right. Why? Because the Republican Party represents the values of Hispanics. We're people of faith. We're people of family, hard work. We believe in the American dream. We don't believe in oppressive government or over government regulations. Those are the things that we believe in. And so that's where the Republican Party is, right now. And frankly, the Democrat Party has left many Hispanics in their wake as they've gone more left and left and left. Also remember that many Hispanics here in Miami-Dade County in particular have fled socialism. We fled dictatorial regimes such as Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. And when we see the Democrat Party kind of embracing those regimes and also embracing some of their ideology, that's what caused the Democrat Party really to lose so many followers here in Miami-Dade County. We've also seen the independents swinging to the right too, and this trend has been going on for the last 8 years.
So walk back with us 2 weeks, Congressman. Was the whole uproar over the bad jokes told at Madison Square Garden, referring to Puerto Rico as a floating island of garbage? You know what came from that. We spent an entire week of talking about garbage on both sides of the aisle. Was that a media narrative? What about the corrosive effect that we all heard that this would have on the Republican ticket?
Look, Hispanics, we're not dumb. That was a bad joke by an idiot comedian in Madison Square Garden, but that's all it was. All right, President Trump certainly doesn't believe that. What was far worse was when Joe Biden, the president of the United States, called everybody who supported Trump garbage. That came right out of his mouth. That's far worse than what some idiot comedian said in Madison Square Garden.
So you didn't believe the cleanup on that? When Joe Biden tried to rephrase that, you think he meant it?
I heard what I heard, and so did over 100 million people. They heard what they heard too. And so the fact that he was trying to clean it up, and then he had some people trying to help him clean it up, that's also an insult to us. Okay, we're not dumb. We understand what he said. We understand why he said it, and so that was an insult to now the majority of the American people, obviously, because Donald Trump not only won the Electoral College, he also won the popular vote. And so obviously we didn't believe that retraction, as we didn't pay much attention to some comments about Puerto Rico. It wasn't funny, and certainly it did not reflect our ideals. Puerto Rico, they're great patriots in Puerto Rico. I have a number of friends that are from Puerto Rico. I love Puerto Rico, and so that was just a stupid thing to say by an idiot.
So that's what was heard by you and others last week. I'm interested as well, Congressman, in what you heard this morning. The Speaker, Mike Johnson, of course, had a call with members, and I'm wondering what projections you are getting from what is currently the majority leadership as to whether or not it is the expectation that you will stay a member of the majority.
Yeah, the leader and also all the leadership there expects that we will attain at least 218 and that we'll go beyond that. And so they're pretty confident in that number. And so, what I've seen, nothing that they said, gave me rise for concern at this point. I certainly would love to have a bigger majority. First of all, it's the majority, because the majority in the House is everything. Even if it's one seat majority, it's everything. And we need to have the majority, but they're confident that we're going to attain it. And so I have confidence in my leadership, and I believe that we will be the majority party in the House.
Well, before we get to the next session, let's finish this one, Congressman. What's this lame duck session going to look like? There were questions about, for instance, an emergency supplemental for natural disasters, the hurricanes that we saw. How about the Farm Bill? What can you get done before the end of the year?
Hopefully we can get done a lot. I'd love to get the Farm Bill through. Look, we're going to have to obviously talk to the President-elect and what the administration wants us to do, but we need to pass a continuing resolution to keep the government open. I have high confidence we will be doing that. Question is, how long? I'd say probably into the March-April timeframe. That way it gives us enough time, if we're in the majority, to put together the packages that we need to send on to the White House to start turning this country around and start implementing the policies of Donald J. Trump. And so, we're going to be working arm in arm, hand in hand with the Senate now that we control also the Senate. Look, if we control the House, the Senate, and the White House, we have no more excuses. We need to get to work. We need to deliver for the American people. We need to give them We need to give them a break on high prices. We need to restore our energy independence and energy dominance. We need to restore our place in the world. And so all those things we need to do and do it quickly. And we have to tackle the long-term problem of our debt. The national debt is running out of control, and our interest payments are higher than our payments for our expenditures on national defense. We need to get that under control, too.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up, Congressman, because as you discussed delivering for the American people, I do wonder, with the debt and deficit in mind, if you think it's realistic to deliver on all of the promises that President-elect Trump has made when it comes to taxes and all of the tax breaks he would like to offer. It is likely to be deficit additive, and I wonder if you think that actually may make it more difficult to work its way through even a Republican House of Representatives.
Oh, we need to look at the revenue side of the House, too. It's not just the deficit side of the House. I've always said that there's two sides to this. There's spending cuts that we have to implement, but there's also revenue enhancements. One thing that the president has alluded to already is that we have natural resources underneath our feet. For some reason or another, this administration has really hampered our oil and gas exploration and utilization. We should not only just be energy independent, which apparently we're not right now. We should be energy dominant. We should be using it to help our allies around the world and also to balance the imbalance in trade that we have. And so, yeah, it's going to be difficult to implement all these things, but we need to find the solutions. Look, one of the things that the president is really proud of is that when he makes a promise, he keeps it. And so I'm sure that he's going to, come to us and say, I made these promises. We're going to have to find a way to make sure that it doesn't increase the deficit. And I believe, here's what I think will happen. Because of these promises, we're going to have more growth, economic growth. And when you have economic growth, you also have additional revenue into the coffers, just like what happened during the Reagan era, where we had more money coming in, even though there was some tax cuts implemented by the Reagan administration.
Yeah, we had a long conversation with Joe Lavorgna about that right around this time yesterday, Congressman. We've got just about a minute left. What will happen in the energy market under the Trump administration, knowing that we're already at a record level of production now? How do you compel oil producers to pump more, having seen them burn so many times in the past and knowing their penchant for returning cash to shareholders?
Yeah, no, look, we need to have a stable energy policy and not one that goes up and down depending on the administration. And that's something that we're going to have to do with legislation. The executive branch hampers production or can increase production simply through the stroke of a pen, executive action. We need to make sure that those that are investing in energy production are assured of the long-term investment is going to pay off. What we need to do is actually start to supplant Russian oil and adversarial oil with American oil. The Iranians, we should be able to put sanctions on Iranian oil, Venezuelan oil, because those are our enemies, and we need to start sanctioning them so that we deny them the funds that they need in order to wreak havoc around the world. That's one of the things I would love to see the United States do.